And welcome back. Today we are working in our workbooks starting with page 195. So be sure you have your workbook and something to write with. For those of you who are wondering, I am feeling more like myself. The last video, I don't know, I just was not feeling completely myself, but I feel much more myself today. We're going to be working more on solving algebraic equations. Last time we talked a lot about using the properties of equality and a little bit about inverse properties, and more of that today. So inverse just means like the opposite operation. So if you have added something to one side of the equation, you're going to subtract it. If you've multiplied something, you're going to divide it, and you'll see that over and over again in the next few pages of the workbook. So let's get started. On page 195, we have a school group is planning a trip to New York City. There are 29 people going on this trip, and they agreed to share the total cost of the trip equally. Let S equal each person's share of the cost. What is each person's share of the cost? Okay, so these are the different parts of the cost: the bus, the hotels, the meals, and the special events tickets. The total cost for everybody for all of those things is $19,111. So, how can you use what you know about dividing lesser numbers to write equations and solve problems involving greater numbers? It just means you divide, right? So what we will do here is take $19,111, and then we know there's 29 people going on the trip, and S is the share that each of those 29 kids will have to pay. So we talked about inverse properties, right? So here we've said 29S, which means 29 times S. So guess what we're going to do? Boom, we're going to divide by 29 on both sides, right? And when we do that, we find that each person pays $659, okay? And then also at the bottom of that page, construct arguments. Can you use the same strategy that you used above to find each person's share of the hotel bill? Well, can you? Of course you can. You would look at the total hotel bill, which is $10,034, and just divide that by 29. And you would find that that costs $346 for each kid. So instead of 29S for all of it, it would be 29H, H representing the cost of the hotel. And then if you just divide both sides by 29, you get 346. Okay, let's take a look at the next page. So here, there's more of this review of different ways to solve, only in this part, they're really kind of trying to drive home that idea of using the inverse operations. So the problem is Juan charged the same amount for each painting. How much did he charge for each painting? Same amount. That's important. So here are the three paintings, and he sold all three of them for $45. So what do? Well, you could do it with a pan balance if you happen to have one of those handy. Everybody take out your pan balances now. Oh, and also your cubes. Not likely that you have one of these laying around, but if you happen to, you would divide both sides into 3 equal groups. So everybody get your blue blocks out, put 3 of those on one side, then get those green blocks out and divide those evenly. Okay, maybe not. But what you would find if you did have those things would be that X is 15. You could also use a bar diagram, which is slightly more convenient. And we divided this bar into 3 equal parts because we know that each painting costs the same amount. and then all three of those parts together equals 45. And you're going to have X represent the amount charged for each painting. We've got 3 of them, so 3 times X equals, all 3 of them together, 45. And then, because it's 3 times X, you would divide by 3 using the inverse or the opposite of multiplication, and then you would get that X equals 15. This is the method that I recommend using at this point. Let's write those equations. 3x equals 45. Divide both sides by 3 and you get 15. And if you want to check, just substitute 15 in for x and see if it's true. 3x, so that means 3 times 15 equals 45, and yes, it is. Okay. Now, for the try it, Teresia picked the same number of tomatoes each day. In 4 days, she picked 52 tomatoes. How many tomatoes did Teresia pick each day? Let n represent the number of tomatoes Teresia picked each day. Okay, so we said n is the amount she picked each day. There were 4 days, so 4 times n equals the total amount she got, which is 52. Divide both sides by 4, and you get 13. And which property is that? It's the division property because you're dividing. And again, it's inverse of the multiplication, which is what we started out with. Okay? All right, let's take a look at page 197. So we've got another group of people going on a trip. The 15 members of the ski club go on a group ski trip. Student groups receive a special rate on lift tickets that is half off the daily rate. Okay? Write and solve an equation to find T, the total cost of lift tickets. Notice they've got a bar graph here, and they also set up an equation. Okay, so this bar is divided into 15 equal parts, and T divided by 15 equals 3950. T divided by 15 times 15, then you have to multiply the other side by 15 also, and you get T equals 592.50. All right, so the total cost of the lift tickets then is $592.50. Okay, example number 3, and then we're going to get down to some work for you guys. Helen puts 2,292 stickers in an album. My goodness, the kids in these workbooks have strange habits, collections, and hobbies. All right, so Helen's got 2,292 stickers in an album. Each page in the album holds 24 stickers. How many pages, we're going to use P for that, did Helen fill? Okay. Draw a bar diagram for represent. Okay, there's the whole bar is 2,292 stickers. 24 is the number, or the number of pages filled is just P. We don't know that yet. But we do know that there's 24 stickers on each page. So if you divide 2,292 by 24, it will equal P, or the number of pages she filled. You could also say 24P, that is 24 stickers, and P is the number of pages, equals 2,292, the number of stickers. Okay, so one way, using the division, is this. So then you divide 2,292 by 24, and you get 95, remainder 12. Now remember, the question was, how many pages did she fill? So she filled 95 pages. Yes, she has 12 stickers left over, but 12 will not fill the whole page. So the answer to a question like this would be 95 because they're asking how many pages were filled. Another way to do it is to solve it with the multiplication. So this time you've got 24 times p equals 2,292. And because you started out with multiplication, 24 times p, you're going to divide to solve it. So 24p divided by 24, and then 2,292 divided by 24. And p equals 95.5. Now you can check it by multiplying again, and if you multiply 24 by 95.5, you will get 2,292. All right, Helen. Let's leave Helen now and move on to Megan on the Try It. Megan is reading a 630-page book. She reads 18 pages each day. Write and solve a division equation to find the number of days, D, that means we're going to use D to represent the number of days, it will take Megan to finish her book. Okay, let me go to my page that I can write on here. So 630 pages, there's my 630 pages, and I divided that by 18 because that's how many pages she reads each day. So I said 630 divided by 18 equals D, and D is the number of days. So if I divide 630 by 18, I get 35. So she reads for 35 days to finish her book. Okay, now let's get down to some business. I almost gave away the answers there. Page 198. I'm just going to go over these problems and then I'm going to have you solve them on your own. Pause the video, and when you're done, come back and check your work, okay? So, you can multiply or divide both sides of an equation by the same number and it will remain balanced. That's all about what we've been talking for the last few lessons, right? Properties of equality and using inverse properties to solve an equation. So here we have 54, and this is the whole thing, the m, and we've got 54 divided by m equals 9. That's one way to do it with division. Here we have 9m equals 54. If you divide each side by 9, you get m equals 6. If you did it the other way, you would still get 6. Let's take a look at this one here. So our total is represented by P, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal sections that have 7 in each thing. So if you'd go P divided by 8 equals 7, because you divided, you would multiply. So divided by 8 times 8, got to do the same thing to the other side. 7 times 8, and you get P equals 56. Now, do you understand questions? Okay, how can you write and solve a multiplication or division equation? Don't overthink this. It's not super complicated. Just what do we know about writing equations? What are the steps that we need to do? Then number 2 is, which property of equality would you use to solve the equation 8n equals 16? Which property of equality? Which property of equality would you use to solve the equation a divided by 9 equals 2? And then number 4, there are 30 students in the drama club. They are carpooling in 5 vans to perform a play. They want each van to carry an equal number of students. Let S be the number of students in each van. Write and solve a multiplication equation to find the number of students in each van. So pause the video here and do these 4 problems, then unpause it and we'll go over the answers when you're ready. Okay, so for writing and solving an equation, first you need to choose a variable for the unknown value, right? Then you need to decide, are you going to use division or multiplication to solve it? Next, whichever one of those operations you choose, you chose to set up the equation, you're going to use the inverse of that to solve it. So if you chose division, you're going to use multiplication to solve it. If you set it up with multiplication, you're going to use division to solve it. Okay, for the next one, which property of equality would you use to solve the equation 8n equals 16? Division. You would divide it by 8 because when you set it up, you multiplied by 8. Number 3, which property of equality would you use to solve the equation a divided by 9 equals 2? You'd use multiplication. You would multiply by 9 because you divided by 9 in the equation. And finally, number 4, there are 30 students in the drama club. And so we used S to be the number of students in each van, right? And solve a multiplication equation to find the number of students in each van. So I said 5S, which is the same as 5 times S, equals 30. And then to solve it, I used the inverse and divided both sides by 5, and I ended up with S equals 6. So there are 6 students in each van. Okay, now let's talk about you know how. 5 through 8, same thing. I'm just going to go over them really quickly, and then I want you to pause the video and solve them, and then come back and check. All right, in 5 through 8, you're just supposed to explain how to solve each equation. So what would you do to solve this? 18m equals 36. How would you solve t divided by 3 equals 10? How would you solve 12 equals 2y? And how would you solve 22 equals a divided by 5? Okay, and then in 9 through 12, you're going to actually solve them. And yes, calculators are okay. So 23d equals 2,392. 74f equals 6,179. 11, y divided by 11 equals 987. And number 12, r divided by 187 equals 9. So let's, what did I do? Oh, here it is. Okay. Pause it and then come back. Okay. So 18m equals 36. How would you solve it? You'd divide by 18. For this one, you would multiply by 3 because you started out with division. For this one, you would divide by 2 because 2 times y. For this one, you would multiply by 5 because you divided by 5 to begin with. And then for these ones, d equals 104, f equals 83, remainder 37, y equals 10,857, and r equals 1,683. Okay? And you can see that I used the inverse properties for each of these problems. Where they divided, I multiplied, and vice versa. All right. Good job. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below, or you can always email me. And then also we will have our meeting times this week. So I look forward to seeing you then, and keep up the good work. Bye.